Hello, welcome back to Colors of Politics on RI Free Radio. Find us on Twitter at Colors of RI. Just as there are multiple colors of the rainbow, there are multiple opinions and views of the way our state government should be run. Let us be to the point and deliver the truth. It's time to break down the colors of politics. Today we have a group, Republicans for Johnson-Weld, and in studio is Ed Lopez, the national co-chair. Did I say that correctly?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Why don't you start by giving a mini synopsis as to what Republicans for Weld is,
Sure.
and how you personally were involved and became the co-chair.
Sure. Well, the group is basically a group of Republicans who believes that the nomination of Donald Trump is nothing less than a disaster. We don't think he represents the party's principles and ideals. And based on that, we decided, hey, let's get all these people that are not that keen on Donald Trump. Let's get them all in one organization that's supporting the Johnson-Weld ticket, and here we are. We believe that Johnson and Weld both represent the ideals and principles that we believe them most. They're the closest to what we believe as Republicans, and we believe that that's a genuine Republican Party, not what's been hijacked by the Trump folks. And so that's what we do. We have people that are from the Republican Liberty Caucus, people that are from the establishment GOP. We have people ranging from people that worked for Dan Quayle all the way to Rand and Ron Paul, people that worked for Johnson himself, the RNC. So we have a really good team of people, Republicans of all stripes, and we just believe in the ticket. So.
And how did you personally become involved and end up the co-chair?
Co-chair? Well, Kevin Martin and I, Kevin Martin, my co-chairman, he was the chairman of the Republican Liberty Caucus in Massachusetts. And I was the vice chairman of the National Republican Liberty Caucus. And so when Bill Weld was nominated, and that sort of sealed the ticket the way it is now, we talked and decided that this needed to be done, that there had to be a Republican vessel for Johnson-Weld support, and so we just pulled it all together, and within a few weeks we built a team of about 60-plus people, and we're still growing. And we have people in 26 states, I think, now, and we're making sure to fill up the rest of the states with some team members as well. So,
wow, that's pretty big in a short period of time.
Yep, it's been about a month and a half, yeah. So, yeah, it's been pretty quick.
Awesome. So what does the group support of the Republican platform versus the Libertarian platform, or what exactly is it that is aligning that the group is pushing for?
I would say that we feel that Gary Johnson and Bill Weld are in a sense, we would have seen them as the future of the Republican Party. And they're basically running vicariously through the Libertarian Party in a way, is the way we feel. But we understand they've switched parties. And the reason I mention this is I'm not sure that we think the platform is exactly where a lot of us would be in the GOP. The platform should be more socially tolerant, truly fiscally conservative, and we're not really getting that from the last convention. There wasn't really much progress in terms of social tolerance. There's a lot of focus on a lot of social issues that we don't really consider constructive, and they don't allow for us to have that big tent that we've had in the past. And so we just don't really feel that the party's necessarily where we wanted to be, but we also feel we represent the future of that party, and that Johnson-Weld is a good ticket for us to support our principles through at the moment. But we also care about the down-ballot Republicans. So we do care about the party. We want to make sure the party moves forward in the right direction, but we feel that we just have the wrong nominee for president at the moment. So.
Okay, and on that, what would you say if you picked three main points about Trump and what he represents in his platform that are absolutely not what you agree with? And
Sure. Well, I'd say one thing for sure is inconsistency. We don't know. He's been a Republican, he's been a Democrat, he's been independent. And it doesn't mean that you have to be hyper-partisan about people or candidates. People can change their minds and evolve. But when it comes to Trump, it's really hard to understand exactly where he stands on certain issues. When you talk about, for example, a controversial issue like the abortion issue, in Trump's case, he's gone back and forth. And the other issue is when he talks about policies, we don't know that he's really giving you a concrete idea of what he really wants to do. To just say you're going to change something isn't enough. What exactly are you going to do? So that's two things right there that we're not too crazy about. But it's also his style and his approach. We feel it's very divisive, whereas we feel like Gary Johnson and Bill Weld both have they don't just articulate something that's more inviting to a broader group of Americans, but it's also they have the record showing they have acted on that inclusivity. So
that's 8 years of governor.
Exactly, each. Much more experience than Trump and Clinton combined. So,
definitely. So on the flip side, what are 2 to 3 of the points that you think are the best on the Johnson-Weld ticket?
Well, I think their fiscal records were pretty remarkable, especially considering that they governed largely Democratic states. And so for us, it's really remarkable to see how well they did with Cato ratings, for example, especially at a time that Cato was very hard on governors. And so their ratings were actually very well earned. They weren't like today. They're a bit more pliable with those. We also like the fact that they were able to build bridges and work with their Democratic legislatures without sacrificing their principles. They both left much better economies in the states that they were in. And I would say, too, that there's a different kind of energy about them. This is more abstract, but I think it's an important point because young people can feel that. You can see how young people are not attracted to Hillary or Trump. But they do very well with or Trump and Johnson and Weld do very well with younger people, and I think it's also reflected in another space, and that's in the military, where you have a lot of young people. I mean, there's people of all ages in the military, but there is a large constituency of young people that are just going in, they're beginning their careers, and they're exposed to the foreign policy decisions that these people make in the White House, and so you can see how through a number of vessels they present a message and project something that young people find appealing. So I would say those are the 3 spaces where I feel there's a great deal of appeal for us when it comes to the ticket.
And is your group working towards also helping with the awareness to the extent of the whole 15% for debate? And I know there's a petition out there for the debate and everything on the Johnson-Weld website.
Absolutely. So when we started out, we decided we were going to basically tier the effort. The first tier was trying to help as much as we could to get them on the ballot. And a lot of that, because we came in at a point where that was already mostly taken care of, we were just trying to raise awareness of what was going on in what states and all that. But we've been very much focused on getting them on the debate stage. And the military forum they had last week, was it on Wednesday, to us was sort of a something on that path to the debate stage. So we were frustrated they didn't make it on. We made a lot of noise about that, and we even ended up with a Veterans Coalition, actually, as a result. But I think overall, the focus right now is to make sure we get them on the debate stage, and we're not even really thinking beyond that immediately. We do want to see them elected, but we know that's an important pivot point, which is once we get them on the debate stage, what happens beyond that is I think, very theoretical right now. The debate is key right now. Yep.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And anybody, no matter what party, getting on a debate stage, it brings a whole nother level of awareness and knowledge and just getting the campaign and the information out there. So that's, I personally don't really see why we need 15% anything. If you're a presidential candidate, you should be able to debate.
And I think they have like 10% or more in a lot of states, and then they're on all 50 ballots. And
there's a couple states that they're like 20-something.
Right, exactly, yeah. And like I said earlier, constituencies where they do even better than 15%. And the other thing is that people forget that 15% is really quite arbitrary when you think about the fact that there's 3 candidates that are really splitting up the vote. So it's not like 15% versus 85%. It's what each of the 3 are getting.
And, of course, there's those people out there that are going to say a Republican for a Libertarian ticket is basically splitting the Republican Party. And the most famous rhetoric of, oh, well, you're splitting votes, and that means you're going to get somebody else in and all that, blah, blah.
Exactly, yeah, we deal with it daily.
So what is your response to that, that form of mentality and that thought process in regards to this movement that you're doing?
Well, one thing is that a lot of polls are showing that we're actually peeling votes off of Hillary Clinton to begin with, but I don't think that that's something that's cemented. I think that in reality, in the end, we're going to end up taking votes from both Trump and Clinton together. It's going to split pretty evenly. There's a lot of people that are not decided. There's a lot of independents that still haven't chosen a candidate. And then when you think about the fact that only 9% of people voted for both Trump and Clinton together, you still have a large segment of the American voting public that hasn't really made a decision. And that's, I'm not sure you can really say it, we're stealing from anyone when so many people are undecided still. So.
Oh, I totally agree with you there. And I was also going to say, I'm pretty sure there's some polls out there that are saying that Johnson is pulling fairly equally from both Trump and Clinton. So, and his demographic market is 35 and under, as you were saying, the younger crowd. So that is primarily where he's coming from. And just found out 20 minutes ago, we now have a Democrats for Johnson-Weld group. So yeah, that's the.
We have to do our homework and find out more about them now. So
definitely, what their stance is and why. But we also have the Libertarian Party in Rhode Island, and we have the Gary Johnson chair in Rhode Island here in studio. Do you want to come on and tell us what the status of the campaign in Rhode Island is and what's going on?
Well, I took a pretty easy week this week, and I only put about 45, 50 hours into the campaign. So I've really been slacking this past week. Actually, before we went on the air here, I was organizing our lawn signs, which are now in Rhode Island. So if anybody wants one, just get a hold of me, do lpri.us. And, it's been great to see lawn signs popping up throughout the state that weren't coordinated by me. So these were actual people who went on the website, made a donation, took their own time and their own money to get a lawn sign to support Johnson-Weld 2016. So there's a huge grassroots effort. Now, it's as unscientific poll as they could be, but I'm also running as a Libertarian for town council in North Kingstown, and about half of the Republicans that I've been talking to are for Johnson-Weld. So, it's really a great situation where if Johnson-Weld helps us get to 5%, we will be an official Libertarian Party in Rhode Island. And I think that's where the real change agent comes in, because we'll have a seat at the table. For instance, there's a new voting system this year coming up, and people are very nervous about it. And some of that's legitimate, and some of that's conspiracy theory type stuff. But if the Libertarians were a recognized party, we would actually have a seat at the table during that time to work out all of that new information to come through. And of course, the Libertarians also have some great General Assembly candidates running, and it's going to be a great year to propel the Libertarian Party forward into the next few election cycles.
Yeah, awesome.
Nice.
So now you said about 26 states for the Republicans for Johnson-Weld organization. Is Rhode Island one of those? We
have one member here at the moment, and that's former state senator Dawson Hodgson. But we're trying to get a few more grassroots people that have been involved in the party in other ways, that have been active in Republican politics some other way. And that's what we have in most states. We have at least 2 co-chairs, and then a number of people that have been active in politics or have been influential in their community somehow, but identify as Republicans that are supporting Johnson-Weld instead. And so that's about 26 states. We have about, obviously, 24 more to go. And we're just trying to make sure we have amplified the voice in each state, and that we have ambassadors, fundamentally, that are advocating for the Johnson-Weld ticket as Republicans in each of those places. So.
And if any of the listeners are resonating with what you're saying and want to know how they can maybe be more directly involved with having the grassroots part of Rhode Island, having a group, or maybe even starting just 7 or 8 small people together, what should they expect and how would they do it?
Well, they can go to republicansforjohnson-weld.com, and there's a series of email addresses there. Any of them will reach us, actually. And we have people that are involved in very honorary terms where they're basically just showing that endorsement of our group by putting their name on our website. But there's also people that are intimately involved with a lot of efforts. Like we have people involved with supporting the down-ballot Republicans. We have people involved with trying to procure endorsements from Republicans all over the country. We have efforts focused on different areas that have to be tackled in order to support Johnson-Weld, but also those down-ballot Republicans. So it's a pretty good mix of responsibilities. Ultimately, it's up to anyone that gets involved how much they can do or want to do. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And is there a way for people to help maybe from home? Are you looking in that way too? And if so, what kinds of things would that be?
Well, one thing we've been really lucky to have a lot of interest in. We have a blog, and we have a lot of Republicans who are writing about issues from that perspective of why I'm a Republican supporting Johnson-Weld. And each of those blog posts is focused on a certain issue. We also have a lot of activity on social media that we're needing help managing. I think we're going to launch state pages for each Republican for Johnson-Weld state chapter. And it's not really a chapter, it's just really a group of people that are doing grassroots work really for the effort as Republicans. So there are a lot of ways to get involved, from social media to writing things. We actually have deployed a lot of people into radio interviews and other kinds of media interviews. So there's ample opportunity and a lot of messaging that can be tackled if you're a grassroots volunteer. It's just a matter of getting in touch with us, and we'll plug them into all these opportunities. So,
okay. And you personally, getting a little bit away from the group, but what is your personal agreement and the things that you resonate the most with Gary Johnson and Bill Weld? What is your reasoning?
I think for me, the biggest thing is that combination of social tolerance with fiscal conservatism. And I think their success working with Democrats. I mean, I've been, I consider myself a New Englander. I've been here for over 20 years now. And I think this is an area where you understand the importance of being able to work with Democrats when you're not a Democrat. You have to be able to get somewhere. And when you find candidates that are able to do that without compromising their values, then you've got a good candidate. And to me, like I said earlier, I feel like Johnson and Weld both at the points that they were governors, you would look at them and say that's quite probably the future of the Republican Party. That's how the GOP should look like in the future. Those are the kind of leaders that we need. And so for me, I just feel personally this is an opportunity to move the country philosophically in the right direction, and with two candidates that can appeal to a much broader audience. I mean, we're so divided right now. If you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, you're basically in the complete different ends of the same room. There's no meeting in the middle. And it's not about compromise. It's about finding that space where people are focused on the most important things. And in this case, it's fiscal issues. Our economy, foreign policy, things like that. We need that type of leadership right now. And so I think for me, those are the personal reasons why. But I think that resonates with a lot of the people that we have on our team that are supporting the ticket. So.
And would you say that there is some particular part of Johnson's platform that you would like to see differently that is you actually don't agree with? That
I don't agree with? That's a really good question. Because that can be the controversial part, right? I think that I'm personally pro-life. And I remember when I lived in Rhode Island, I ran for office here, actually, and I ran for Secretary of State in 1998. And when we put our the endorsements forms in with a couple of groups, we chose to respond to all of them. And so the pro-choice people thought that I was pro-life, and the pro-life people thought I was pro-choice. And it was because I believed in three exceptions, the typical three, which are when the life of the mother is threatened, or when, it's rape or incest. And so I think the problem with that dialogue is that it's used as a political football to divide people when you have a really good candidate. The situation we have right now is you can't really say that Trump is pro-life, and we know that Hillary Clinton isn't pro-life. So if you're really going to be hell-bent about that issue, you're probably barking up the wrong tree. This is not your election. I mean, we have to focus on different things right now. But I would say that's probably one issue where I'm a little bit different. But I think in the Libertarian Party, you even get that sort of division even. So it's not a Republican thing. I think it's here in Rhode Island, there's a lot of very socially conservative Democrats who would be pro-life. So it's not I don't sense that it's the partisan thing, really. It's really a personal thing.
Yeah, that's a controversial thing where
it is,
people, no matter what your political realm, you can have all different kinds of
opinions,
perspectives, and outlooks on that particular topic. I have seen comments online and such that people feel that now that Gary's getting a lot more attention, that he is more of a known name. More people are getting to know what he is, and I'd say Weld, what I'm seeing online, it actually seems like less people know about Weld, which is amusing to me, considering he's from Massachusetts and we're in Rhode Island, and the majority of my friends list is Rhode Island.
Right. No, absolutely. Yep.
So the fact that more people actually know the Johnson name than the Weld name, and we're right next door. And I'm not afraid to admit I was one of them before he got on the ticket. I didn't know who the heck he was.
Well, he had been out of politics, right, for like almost 20 years. No, almost 20 years, actually. He had been, since he had been governor, I think, if not more. Actually, more than that. So, and he had gone to New York. I think it was actually in 2006 that he was running both as a Republican and Libertarian for governor of New York. So he had done the Massachusetts thing and then New York, and so he just sort of got lost in that. But he had a pretty impressive record in Massachusetts, and he, like Gary Johnson said, he was considered back then a Libertarian Republican, and now it's a little bit different. But for the standards back then, he was very much a Libertarian compared to a lot of the other Republicans at the time who were so focused on a lot of social issues. So.
Yeah, and for Rhode Island being 85% Democrat,
right?
Whether you're Republican or Libertarian, you're in the minority around here.
Absolutely, yep. I lived through it, yeah.
And then also, like we were saying, just to go into a little bit more, they each have 8 years of governing.
Correct.
So they have 16 years combined between them. Yep. And Gary Johnson, he, if I'm not mistaken, did not raise taxes at all. However, ended up with left the state in a better financial situation than it was before he started.
And they were both reelected by very wide margins when they were reelected. So their popularity in those states when they were governing in such blue states was a remarkable thing, and it wasn't that long ago, really. So it's not like that. A lot of things have changed, but not enough for that not to be a noticeable and important element in considering them as candidates. And I think they're candidates that can appeal to independents, to Democrats, to Republicans alike. And I think it's a real opportunity for the Libertarian Party. We don't know where the Republican Party will be after this. We get asked that question a lot, and I think a lot of us as Republicans, we'd like to see the Republican Party thrive and move forward and be stronger. But there's a real opportunity for the Libertarian Party to leave a mark and to become something a lot more tangible. And the two-party system, as we know it, hasn't always been the same. So this may be the time that shifts, and there's a different two-party. Two actors in that two-party system. I mean, it's hard to predict, but depending on how Gary Johnson does, it might really change a lot of things moving forward, no matter what. So.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And like Tony was saying, 5% in Rhode Island makes it an official party and seals it for this state. Now, being that, does your group worry at all that because they are libertarian and therefore they will be following their platform of the Libertarian platform and promoting their Libertarian down ticket, that other people following them might therefore end up following more with the Libertarian Party and not necessarily keeping the GOP as strong?
Well, I'd be lying if I said that we haven't noticed a lot of Republicans that have switched parties. And that's that to me was indicative of that there is a more serious problem than the party realizes. So there are a lot of people, as we were looking at our list and trying to see who might be interested in joining us, we'd see that they had endorsed Johnson-Weld, but they had also switched parties. And so that's a bit of a challenge, and it has happened to some degree. In our case, when you look at our group, we have the people we have such remarkable backgrounds in the Republican Party that I don't think it's going to happen that quickly. If anything, I'm guessing the party's watching our group and trying to understand where we're going to go with this because they understand that this is their future, no matter what. We have people that did very sensitive and important work for all the past presidential campaigns from, McCain, W. Bush, recently Fiorina, Scott Walker, Rand Paul. We have people who did all the digital outreach for the Republican National Committee. I mean, if we had a couple of people that had just worked on city committees in a couple of random states, that'd be one thing. But we have the same Republican strategists that you see on CNN are the ones that are supporting our group and are actually running the group with us. And so that sense of identity as Republicans, I think we own it, and it's a matter of whether or not the party's going to come along with us. But I think the Libertarian Party, without a doubt, has a really big opportunity here, and you can't predict what's going to happen down the road. So. Right,
definitely. And again, we're talking with Ed Lopez, the national co-chair of the Republicans for Johnson-Weld. And if you want to just give, again, a couple sentences to summarize the group for anybody that didn't hear the beginning, and
Sure.
then Facebook, Twitter, any way that they can get a hold of you at all.
Well, certainly. I mean, we're at republicansforjohnson-weld.com, and our Twitter account is repubs4, the number 4, Johnson. We welcome any Republicans who want to support Johnson-Weld and understand that doesn't mean they have to abandon the rest of the party or the rest of the people that we have running down ballot. Even if you're a Republican who's reluctantly supporting Donald Trump, we would encourage those people to write letters to the editor and call wherever they need to call to make the noise necessary to get them on the debate stage. Because even if you support Trump and you're holding your nose, getting Johnson on that debate stage means that we move the dialogue in the right direction. And I think eventually when he's up there, people will realize that he's a better candidate, and we'll see even more Republicans joining our ranks. But yeah, republicansforjohnsonweld.com, and we are very quick to respond and get people involved. Yep.
Awesome. And is there a direct email address, or the website has a contact form?
I think there's I'm trying to remember, it's contact@republicansforjohnsonweld.com, and I think it is. But it's listed on there, and like I said, we're very responsive. If you send us a message on Facebook, we'll respond quickly as well.
Okay, great. So thank you for listening. You're listening to Colors of Politics on RI Free Radio, and you can follow us on Twitter at Colors of RI and Facebook at Colors of RI. Thank you, and hear you next time.